Want to be sure you're getting the most out of your retirement for all the years of your retirement? That's the primary goal of More Living with Jim Brogan and our Dollars and Cents segment, where we provide you with an important financial tip that will help positively impact the quality of your life in retirement. And now here's Jim with this week's Dollars and Cents tip.
And today I want to talk about 5 questions you should be asking yourself or your financial advisor in your annual review checklist before the end of the year. Number 1, are there any actions you need to take before the end of the year? One of the biggest things here is if you're over 70 and a half, to make sure you've taken out the necessary required minimum distribution from any retirement accounts that you have. Of course, sometimes you can aggregate, like if you have multiple IRAs, you can take the entire minimum from one as long as it satisfies both. But be certain that you've taken that RMD. If you've inherited an IRA or a retirement account from a parent or grandparent, be sure, because starting the year after the year of death, you have to start taking a minimum distribution. And then the other thing would be the tax implications of the fact that capital gains taxes are probably likely to go up next year. Dividend taxes will go up. So should you be doing some tax planning? Be careful of that, though, because when you trigger additional taxes on this year's tax return, it could trigger other numbers on the return that could charge additional taxes. You could hit an alternative minimum tax. You could have phase-outs of deductions and credits. So be very, very careful. Just because a long-term capital gains tax is 15%, there's also the way it affects taxes on Social Security income. So in selling off a highly appreciated asset, you may find it costs you much more than 15%. So don't just assume that you should be selling those things, but you should definitely be doing end of the year tax planning. Number 2, is your risk allocation still appropriate? I talk a lot about risk versus reward. What is the downside volatility you're willing to deal with in a volatile market? We're probably going to have a good bit of volatility, especially over these next 4 weeks. How much are you comfortable with? As we give up some of the downside risk, we're probably going to have to give up some of the upside potential rewards. So you've got to balance risk versus reward. So take a fresh look at your risk allocation and profile. Number 3, don't be too short-term focused. I'm not a believer in market timing. If you've asked yourself these types of questions with risk versus reward, which goes back to the first segment I had today with the challenges of the fiscal cliff, you can maintain discipline in your financial plan. Don't get too short-term focused. Regardless, even if you're 80 years old, you could easily have a 10 or 12 or 13-year investment horizon. You don't just need to get through the next 2 years. You got to get through the next 12, 15 years. If you're in your early 60s and you're married, you've got a 50-50 likelihood one of you is going to live to be 90. So focus on the long term and have a disciplined plan. Number 4, have the right income plan in retirement. That is very important in order to be able to be disciplined, is that you're drawing income from the right sources. The wrong sources to draw income from, in my opinion, are investments that are going up and down in value every month, because then when they're down in value and you're selling off those investments to draw income, you're then spending the money. You're going to compound your loss. That money will never, ever come back. It's been spent. You've compounded your loss. So having the right income plan in retirement is crucial to be able to maintain the discipline. And then finally, number 5 is your withdrawal rate sustainable? So if you're in retirement or as you get ready for retirement, what type of withdrawal rate from your life savings? Is it 3%, 4%, 2%, 5%? Is it sustainable for the rest of your life, regardless of how long you live? It's not just a function of what's the percentage. It's also a function of how you're invested to support the income and how have you structured that income plan that's so critical.
And that's our Dollars and Cents segment for this week. You can find this week's Dollars and Cents segment and others by visiting BroganFinancial.com.